Update, brought to you by Simcox Advocates, advising businesses and families since 1949. Visit simcox.com or call 690 300. Manx Radio's Update with Andy Wint.
Faster by. Good evening. It's 5:30. This is Update for Thursday, 14th of September 2023 from Manx Radio. 30 minutes to look at the latest news on the Isle of Man, and background to that news was sport, business, Sea-Watch, travel updates and the newsmakers in person. This evening, the nurses are on strike for the second time this year. The DHSC's Dr. Ranson legal bill, almost £900,000. Consumer inflation was down in August. Looking forward to the end-to-end walk this Sunday and Play It Safe. It's Sexual Health Awareness Week.
Man Benham for all your business and legal needs.
First of all, at 29 minutes ahead of 6 o'clock, the Update News headlines. Fastamai, Christian Jones.
Fastamai, the Department of Health and Social Care's legal bill for the tribunal involving its former medical director has risen to almost £900,000. Dr. Rosalind Ranson won her claim of unfair dismissal against the department last year. Consumer inflation is down 0.4% last month in comparison to July's figure of 5.8%. Food and non-alcoholic drinks remain the biggest contributor, but the largest decreases are seen in oil, petrol and gas. And nurses are approaching the 8th hour of strike action as they continue their ongoing dispute over pay and conditions. Manx Care insists they're open to discussions with the Royal College of Nursing, but say no further pay offers can be given due to financial constraints. In international news, the personal details of officers with Greater Manchester Police have been stolen in a ransomware attack. A third-party supplier was targeted, with names, photos and force numbers taken. Police have made an arrest after malicious emails were sent to schools in West Yorkshire. Teachers have been told to keep children inside classrooms after emails appear to threaten pupils and staff. And mass graves have been dug in the Libyan city of Derna to bury those killed by devastating floods. At least 5,500 people are known to have died, although that figure is likely to rise significantly. Those are the Update News headlines. Next at 6.
Man Benham. Contact us by phone, video call, email or face-to-face. We're happy to connect with you. Manx Radio Weather with Manx Glass and Glazing.
Goromaya, thank you, Christian. From the Ronaldsway Met Office, there's no wind warning in operation for the North Irish Sea. State of sea is slight. The Manxman was late leaving Heysham, consequently will be late in. The 3-day weather this evening: dry, partially cloudy and a light west-southwesterly. Rain arriving overnight, minimum temperature 13, and for Jehenya, Friday, cloudy and wet, a fresh to strong northeasterly, up to 16 degrees, down to 12 through the night into Saturday. Cloudy with sporadic outbreaks of rain for Jasan, top temperature 16. Tides on the way out, low waters 21 minutes past 6, sunset 22 minutes before 8, high water 17 minutes after midnight, low water is at 11 minutes to 7 tomorrow morning, and sunrise at 10 to 7. The mountain roads fine and no delays reported tonight at Ronaldsway.
Manx Glass and Glazing can produce bespoke splashbacks for your kitchen in any colours. Speak to the team on 674 573.
Nurses on the Isle of Man have been on strike today for the second time this year. The Royal College of Nursing Union members have walked out over an ongoing dispute, calling for better pay and improved staffing levels. Manx Radio heard from nurses Tracy and Sarah on the picket line this morning.
I'm striking today because whilst it's about the money, if you actually think about the numbers that are on the wards at the moment, is unsafe. So people are having to go to war every day, and the conditions that we're working in, it's not attractive to people from across, and whilst we need to get a better wage in order to recruit people.
Describe your day-to-day with staffing levels as they are. Quite stressful?
Extremely stressful, and theatre lists are being cancelled on a daily basis because there aren't the staff to enable the theatre cases to go ahead. So it's unsafe at the moment, and the only way it's going to become safer is if you attract the staff by getting a better wage packet, and then you're going to get people coming over. But the minute you can't recruit, you can't retain.
And we've got Tracy here as well. You listening there to Sarah, it must echo what your day-to-day is like.
Very much so. Too often I go home at the end of a very long shift crying because I've only been able to give the basic care to my patients, and it's not right. You know, we train to care for people and not tasks.
So it's all about the patients for you?
Yes, very much so, and we need to recruit more people, and we need to retain them. It was said in the Jonathan Michael report that Manx Care needed to make the Isle of Man an attractive place to come and live and stay. And it's not delivering on that at the moment, and the start of that has to be a fair pay, a fair wage.
The Department of Health and Social Care's legal bill for the tribunal involving its former medical director has risen to almost £900,000. Dr. Rosalind Ranson won her claim of unfair dismissal against the department last year. Here's Sean Cowper.
Updated figures published in response to a Freedom of Information request from Manx Radio show the total costs incurred by the DHSC now stand at £888,061.62. The spend covers the original liability hearing held in January and February 2022, as well as a disclosure hearing last summer, 2 High Court appeals and remedy proceedings earlier this year. It also includes £31,500 of legal costs awarded to Dr. Ranson after the DHSC lost its High Court appeals relating to the disclosure hearing. Details released in May this year confirmed the costs to that point stood at just over £676,000. The department was represented by a UK advocate at the liability hearing with support from the Attorney General's chambers. It also brought in an island law firm to represent its case in the High Court appeals and subsequent tribunal hearings, with representation from an off-island KC at the remedy hearing. Dr. Ranson was awarded almost £3.2 million in compensation as a result of her unfair dismissal for whistleblowing, a record for a Manx tribunal. The tribunal also awarded her 70% of her legal costs, the value of which is still to be determined.
You're listening to the Isle of Man's quintessential daily news and current affairs roundup. Update on Manx Radio.
Consumer inflation is down 0.4% last month from July's figure of 5.8%. That story from Abby Bray.
Inflation for August sits at 5.4%. Food and non-alcoholic drinks remain the biggest contributor, with an increase of 14%, with electricity seeing the largest rise, up by almost 35% in comparison to 12 months ago. Among the increases also sees essentials like biscuits, cake and butter up, with eggs sitting at 30.5% increase. Restaurants and hotels hold the second highest rise, having risen 13.4%, and alcohol and tobacco in third place with a rise of 9.2% within the past year. Decreases are being seen in air travel, women's outerwear and cooking oil, but the largest dips come from oil, petrol and gas. However, those are all 12-month comparisons, and if we look at the monthly change, food is down 0.3% when comparing with July's figure, while fares and travel costs see the biggest decline over a monthly period at 26.8%.
A Nobel Peace Prize winner set to deliver a keynote speech at the University College Isle of Man's Research Festival in October. Dr. Douglas Fox formed part of the IPCC panel, which won the award in 2007 alongside Al Gore for efforts to disseminate knowledge about man-made climate change. Here's UCM's Higher Education Manager, Gail Corran.
The idea is to celebrate, really, that's what it's called, a festival, just how interesting research can be. So we want to just have as broad a range of research topics to share greater understanding with both our staff, our students, but the general public as well. We had over 100 people come last year. The subjects are so varied. We have a professor from the UK coming to talk about non-traditional interventions in aged care. We've got a session on artificial intelligence and how that's impacting traditional educational methods and roles. And then in the afternoon, there's also some workshops for people who want to learn more about how to do good research. It doesn't cost anything. It's free. You do have to register on Eventbrite. A real exciting part of this year is by Dr. Doug Fox, who spends half of his year on the island. Is a Nobel Peace Prize winner. He won that with Al Gore back in 2007. They were the people that really set the whole climate change agenda at United Nations level with the IPCC. DHSC reports. The Isle of Man's always of great interest to people. There's a lot of research is done about the Isle of Man that I don't think we ever find out about on the island. So that's one reason we hold the festival, is to encourage that research to be shared. We're an interesting small nation. We face the same challenges as big countries do, but at a smaller scale. So we're an interesting place for researchers.
Sea-Watch with the Isle of Man Steam Packet Company.
The vessel Manxman departed Heysham at 21 minutes past 3, over an hour late. Due to operational reasons, she'll be into Douglas, gone 6:30, nearer 7 o'clock probably tonight. The evening departures 8:15, Ben McCree to Heysham, arriving just before midnight. Overnight departures 2:15, Ben back to Douglas tomorrow morning at 6. Manannan departed Douglas at 2:45. She'll be in Liverpool about 6:15. The evening departure is 7:15, back to Douglas at 11:15 tonight. Tomorrow morning's departure, the Manxman departs Douglas at 8:45 for Heysham. Tomorrow afternoon's 3 o'clock Manannan to Liverpool will now leave at 1:30.
Follow the Steam Packet on Twitter for the latest sailing information.
Thanks for joining Manx Radio this Thursday evening. This is Update at 19 minutes before 6. I'm Andy Wint. And one of the Isle of Man's largest walking races, the End-to-End Walk, will have its highest number of participants for more than 10 years this Sunday. Race Secretary Tony McIntosh is delighted at the demand for this year's event.
291, our best entry since 2012. So yeah, absolutely over the moon at getting such a good entry. It's the entry field we've got. I'm so happy. It's and it's a good entry. It's a good quality entry. We've got some really quick people, and we've got a lot of new people as well. I think giving it a go for the first time, which is very happy all round. Really, it's flown by. It's been a blur, to be honest, getting everything ready and getting sorted out. Really excited. I think with the way the weather's looking and with the entry we've got, looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a really good day. This is my first time being race secretary. There's so much goes on that as a competitor I've never been aware of and just taken for granted, really. But it's what needs to be done to keep the race on, which is what the whole thing was. Keep the race on, get the entries back up. It's, to be honest with you, all the hours that we're working as a committee, it's not just me, it's worth every minute just to get this race back on. There's a small possibility the cars will be going through Kirkmichael, basically from Douglas Road to the Orrisdale turn-off. If they're on time, it shouldn't be an issue. If they are late getting to Kirkmichael, then our walkers and their support cars could slightly overlap each other, and we're trying to get a couple more marshals from our point of view to actually marshal that area and just keep everybody safe.
Manx Radio Business Briefing.
At 17 minutes now before 6, Deliveroo shares shot higher today following a report that the activist investor Sackham Head Capital Management's taken a stake in the firm. Bloomberg cited people familiar with the matter, saying that Sackham Head sees Deliveroo as undervalued and it could eventually become a takeover target, but it isn't yet actively pushing for changes. It was understood that Deliveroo, the British online food delivery company founded by Will Shue and Greg Orlofsky in 2013, is planning defence strategies as it could become vulnerable to takeovers when a dual-class share structure expires in April next year. And for a full daily market report, go to ramseycrookall.com. Birkenstock, the iconic German sandal makers, filed for an initial public offering with the Securities and Exchange Commission in Washington, D.C. Bloomberg says it's another sign of the allure that U.S. equity markets hold for European firms seeking a valuation uplift. The company could be valued at $8 billion or more, just 2 years after private equity firm El Caterton, which is backed by the luxury goods billionaire Bernard Arnault, acquired a majority stake. Birkenstock's IPO is one of a number of recent high-profile offerings, including Arm, Instacart and Klaviyo, that are helping revive the U.S. IPO market after an 18-month lull. About 54% of Birkenstock's customers are in the Americas. Europe accounts for 36%.
The Stock Market Report, brought to you by Ramsey Crookall.
UK and European stock markets closed higher as investors in the region assessed the European Central Bank's decision to raise interest rates again. The dollar index hit its highest level in 6 months. Oil rebounded as expectations of a tighter oil supply outlook for the rest of 2023 Q3 overshadowed concerns over weaker economic growth. Gold held near a 3-week low. The numbers now from Ramsey Crookall. At the close in London, Ramsey Crookall reporting the FTSE 100 up almost 2% at 7,673. The DAX in Frankfurt up just over 1% at 15,816. A short time ago in New York City, the Dow Jones Industrial up just over 0.6% at 34,794. The Nasdaq Tech Stocks Index up nearly 0.75% at 15,460. The S&P 500 in Chicago up just over 0.6% at 4,496. In the exchange markets, the British pound sterling is trading at $1 24.1 cents, €1 16.4 cents, and 23 South African rand 53.9 cents. In commodities, gold's fractionally down 0.07% down at $1,906 per troy ounce, and a barrel of Brent crude up 1.33% at $93.36.
You've got an investment plan?
Yeah, Mike set it up.
But don't you need loads of money to do that?
Not this one. It's called Shearwater from Ramsey Crookall, and you pay in monthly as little as £100. So it's like saving regularly, really helping us invest in the future. For a house, or the kids' education.
£100 a month? I could easily do that.
You should. The sooner you start, the better.
Invest in your future with as little as £100 a month. Shearwater from Ramsey Crookall, the island's investment specialist for 75 years. Call 717171 or visit ramseycrookall.com. Licensed and regulated by the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
A Douglas man who stole food so his dog didn't go hungry has been fined at Douglas Courthouse. Here's Tessa Hawley.
Patrick Henry Smith of Osborne Grove was sentenced at Douglas Courthouse today. The 61-year-old admitted stealing from the co-op in Ramsey on 3 occasions over the summer. He also admitted being drunk and incapable on Waterloo Road on the 19th of June. The court heard Smith had entered the supermarket on the 17th of July, stealing a packet of bacon and a bottle of vodka valued at £24. 4 days later, on the 21st of July, he returned, this time taking tuna and a jar of coffee worth £8. Just over a month later, he took a variety of items, including corned beef, salmon, tuna and a cooking sauce. They were valued at £13. On each occasion, he made no attempt to pay. CCTV was reviewed and Smith was arrested and interviewed. He told police on the first occasion he'd made a rash decision to steal because he fancied a bacon sandwich, and on the second because he didn't have the money to pay for the goods. Smith told officers on the third occasion, on the 23rd of August, he'd gone in with the intention of stealing because he had no money and was hungry. Smith's advocate described his client's offending as something of a sad situation, adding that the MS sufferer was also a carer to a family member, leaving his own finances particularly depleted. He didn't have the money to pay for the goods, he told the court. He has at times been going hungry to make sure his dog eats. Revealing the German Shepherd loves tuna, the advocate added he couldn't stand to see her go hungry. Fining Smith £200 and ordering him to pay compensation to the co-op. Magistrates also ordered him to pay prosecution costs of £125.
Update brought to you by Simcox Advocates. Manx Radio Sport.
Faster My, Rob Pritchard and Darren Timson.
Faster My, good evening. Starting in motorsport, a Manx racer Joe Yeardsley says his main aim for the new season will be to make his Isle of Man TT Races debut in 2024. The Ireland competitor recently announced he's ending this season early to spend time with his family and concentrate on work commitments after a successful Manx Grand Prix last month. As a newcomer at this year's MGP, Yeardsley went on to win the senior MGP race, setting a new lap record of 122.051 miles an hour in the process. He also set a new benchmark on the Balown course during the pre-TT Classic Road races on the 28th of May in the Post-Classic Senior Superbike race. On the Mistral race in Kawasaki, Yeardsley set a new lap record in the class of 106.535 miles an hour to win the race.
Manx elite cyclist Becky Story will remain with the team DSM Firmenich squad going into 2024. Story announced the news on social media and believes the squad is the perfect environment to maximise my potential. The Ireland-born competitor competitor adds this year has been life-changing and overwhelming at times, but I've embraced the challenge at every opportunity. Among her performances during the current campaign, Story finished 20th in the general classification for the Tour of Scandinavia in August.
Elsewhere in cycling, Isle of Man's Matthew Bostock secured a top 10 finish during his latest race out in Asia earlier today. Competing in the first stage of the Tour of Taihu Lake in China, Bostock finished 7th and was the highest finisher for his Bolton Equities Black Spoke team. Stage 2 of the competition will take place tomorrow, with the event as a whole running through until Sunday.
And in football, the new season of the Isle of Man's Under-18 League got underway last night. 2 games took place in the curtain raiser, with the first a close and entertaining contest as Ramsey narrowly beat Russian United 3-2. Elsewhere, it was a baptism of fire for the newly formed Colby All-Stars side, who suffered a hefty 13-1 defeat at the hands of Braddon.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
Inbound at Ronaldsway, the 5:25 Loganair from Manchester came in 5 minutes early. Next, it's the 10:08 Loganair from London City on time. 5:08 Loganair from Liverpool, the returning patient transfer plane is on time. The 8:05 EasyJet from Manchester showing on time, and the 9:25 EasyJet from London Gatwick on time at the moment. Outbound 6 o'clock, Loganair to Liverpool is showing on time. The 9:25 EasyJet back to Manchester's on time, and the 9:05 EasyJet to London Gatwick showing on time. Still, the Newcastle Town Road is closed between Spring Valley Roundabout and the bottom of Richmond Hill for about another 6 weeks or so for resurfacing. The junction at the bottom of Richmond Hill has been reopened, and you're diverted along the Energy from Waste Plant access road to the top of Quegg Hill there. In Port Erin, temporary lights on the Upper Prom, they're doing some resurfacing, and temporary lights between Ballacrane and Ballick Bridge and St John's. Temporary lights on West Quay, Ramsey for emergency work to the harbour wall. That should be wrapped up by tomorrow. The Ballagorn Road's closed near Ballabeg for ditching work. And in Douglas, Mona Drive is closed between Empire Drive and Victoria Road for sewer lining works. That work on Ballabruey Drive is underway now. It's closed between Devonshire Road and Ballabruey Way to the end of this month for gas main work. Hillside Avenue is closed for adjacent office replacement till the middle of June next year. And temporary lights back on Victoria Road at the Falconcliffe Terrace junction for water main work. Falconcliffe Terrace in Douglas is closed too for that work.
H&H Motorcycles.in for all your motorcycle requirements. Southgate Industrial Estate, opposite Quayside Tyres. Call 665646.
It's Sexual Health Awareness Week, and this year's theme is Playing It Safe. With the details, Christian Jones.
Throughout the past year, Manx Care has alerted us to rises in sexually transmitted infections and urged residents to consider getting tested if they're concerned that they may be at risk of an infection. STIs are spread from person to person during sexual or intimate contact, but are not always symptomatic, and if left untreated, can lead to serious health problems. However, if diagnosed early, they're often easily treatable. Ella Rain, a specialist nurse in integrated sexual health at Manx Care, spoke about how the health body is marking the week.
We're putting emphasis on protection and prevention of both STIs and unplanned pregnancy. Good news is we're currently running an integrated sexual health service here at Nobles Hospital, where you can visit the GUM clinic and get your STI screening done, and you can also have your contraception taken care of and provided for you all under one roof. And just to remind people also of emergency contraception, so what we might know as the morning after pill, you can get that from us as well as your GP or your local pharmacy. And a reminder to anyone who is due to have a smear test, please, we encourage you to book that with your GP or with your practice nurse or the Stay Well clinic here at Nobles Hospital.
Update brought to you by Simcox Advocates, advising businesses and families since 1949. Visit simcox.com or call 690-300.
A week today, the second annual Isle of Man Government Conference gets underway. There'll be talks, question and answer sessions with the ministers, and plenty of chances for you to engage with those elected to represent us. Here's Enterprise Minister Tim Johnston, MHK, about what we can expect.
Last year was the first one, so taking away some messages and lessons from that, I think, especially having the evening session on the Wednesday. I think the conference kicks off, I think, 5 or 6 o'clock on Wednesday. Get an opportunity for people who, after leaving work, they want to come and have a chat and ask some questions. I think that's really important. So just to try to be more accessible. I think that's the key. And then a full day of conference on Thursday.
Was there any thought about holding the conference over a weekend, perhaps not during a weekday when most people on the island are at work?
Well, again, I think it's one of those things we'll have to look at again. Clearly, logistically, that's quite challenging. But look, I think last year was the first one. We've definitely seen some increase in numbers for this year, which is really positive. So let's see how it goes, and we'll go from there.
What would you say to somebody who thinks it's not the best way of engagement and a bit of a waste of time?
Well, I think it's always going to be a challenge for government to explain and get its message across. We don't have party politics. We don't have party conferences. This is not what this is about. So I think it's always right that government should always be trying to work hard to engage. And as I said, last year was the first one. We've got to try and make it work. If it doesn't work, then we don't do it. But I'm confident that it's something that's building, and the more people get engaged, the more people hear about it. I think the word spreads, and I hope it's something that we'll keep on doing.
That's it for Update Tonight, compiled from the resources of Manx Radio's news department. Thanks to newsreader Christian Jones, producer Beth Espy. After the news at 6, the Emmy Hour at 130 years, Mike Buttle and Part 3, the greatest hits with Chris Kinley at 6:30. A little light music with Maurice Powell at 9 and Rhiann Evans with After Hours at 10. I'm Andy Wint. Back tomorrow evening, Friday evening at 5:30 with another update.
WINT